Hey, this is Erik and Alan and Peterson. Thanks for joining us today. We have a lot of clients coming in looking to replace their refrigerators, and there's a few things that you can do to save yourself a little bit of time when you come in to better help your salesperson help you select the right size fridge. So a few things to look for is the opening available width and also the height. Those can vary a bit. While there are some standard width openings, 36 inches wide being the most common, heights can vary a bit, especially some older homes, especially built in the 80s here in Anchorage. So if at all possible, if you can pull the refrigerator out and measure the actual usable opening width and height, that is the very, very best. Sometimes when you're measuring the refrigerator, you have a little bit of space and you can't quite figure that out and how much that is. So the best bet is to remove the fridge altogether. The other thing that you want to be aware of when you're measuring the opening width of the refrigerator is to make sure that you don't have any molding down at the bottom of the floor that's going to close in your width, your usable width. When you pull your refrigerator out to measure your opening, make sure you take a look and see if you have a shutoff valve for your water. Oftentimes there'll be a copper line or something coming out of the floor or a recessed area where you have a shutoff valve. It'll be important to know if you have a shutoff valve available and accessible for us to connect to, or if there is not any water supply or a shutoff valve. Also, if you can make note of where it is, if it's coming out of the cabinet or the wall or the floor. Best case, take pictures. If you don't know if something is important or not important, take your camera out, take your phone, and take pictures of the opening and anything that you think might be helpful for us. Another thing to take close consideration of is whether you have a wall that protrudes out farther than the depth of your refrigerator. A problem that we find sometimes is refrigerators can be a little bit deeper, and if your wall's here and you're trying to open your door, it might run up against your wall. Some doors are thinner and you don't need as much distance between the side of the fridge door and the wall, and some doors are really thick and they need quite a bit of distance. So make sure that you measure how deep the wall is so we know how deep of a fridge we can put in that opening. So there are several different configurations of refrigerators. When we're talking about French door refrigeration, which is a split door up top with a freezer drawer down below, you can either choose from a standard full depth, which is your traditional fridge that'll stick out past your counter some, or what's called a reduced depth or a counter depth, which means that the body of the fridge is about 24 inches deep, which is the same depth as a standard base cabinet, which means that just the door and the handles will stick out past your countertop. So when trying to determine what depth of refrigerator you want, a standard full depth or something like this, which is a counter depth or a reduced depth fridge, you might just ask yourself if you mind losing a little bit of space. Reduced depth refrigeration, actually a lot of them have pretty decent capacities, but you do lose some usable space on the inside. However, if you're in an application where perhaps you have a narrow walkway or an island that protrudes out and you don't want the fridge sticking out too far, a reduced depth might be a better way to go. However, if you need the capacity of a standard full depth, they do offer quite a bit more room in a lot of cases. When you're looking at the height of your opening, if you come over here, sometimes you'll have cabinets that will have what's called reveal. Now this is actually a cabinet with no reveal, meaning if we were to take a tool to trim this up to make a little bit more room, there is nowhere for us to make any room. Some cabinets will have some reveal that could be trimmed if you needed to buy a little bit more space. Another thing to consider and take a look at is the style of your cabinet. Is it flush with the bottom of your base cabinet? In that case, you're probably not going to be able to find any more additional height. Sometimes these cabinets aren't so flush and you have a little bit of room that you could trim to make a little bit more height if need be. So in conclusion, do not assume that you have a standard size fridge. If at all possible, remove your fridge and measure the opening. Make sure you check for a water shutoff valve and where it's at. And if you have a wall that comes out deeper than your refrigerator, make sure you check the depth of that wall. Take lots of pictures. There are a lot of options that we can help you with. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.